Hello, this is Dr. Scott Kilberg, the Video Foot Doc, here with another video for you on all things foot and ankle. Today I'm going to talk about sesamoid bone fractures. In a previous video I talked about sesamoiditis, which is essentially inflammation of the sesamoid bones. Today I'm going to talk about fractures, including straight fractures as well as stress fractures. The sesamoid bones, just to review, are two small bones that are located underneath the big toe joint. When the big toe connects into the foot, there's a joint that forms there, and underneath that joint, actually on the side of the long bone called the first metatarsal, on the underside of that bone, there are two small egg-shaped bones that are called sesamoids, and everyone has both of these bones, and they're located strictly in this particular position underneath the big toe joint. They have a wide variety of different purposes, including stabilization of the big toe joint as well as reducing load and pressure underneath this bone. However, like any other bone, the sesamoids can become injured, and part of that injury can include fractures as well as a condition called a stress fracture, which is sort of more of a microscopic fracture or damage to the interwoven material of the bone that occurs over a long period of time from sustained stress. Now, certain injuries that can cause a sesamoid fracture include very direct, blunt injuries, such as something slamming down from underneath onto the bone itself. Now, this can be sustained in a jumping accident or something swinging on upward and hitting the bottom of the foot, or if one is in a seated position and something swings hard against the bottom of the foot, that can also create a fracture injury to the sesamoid itself. These fractures can also occur over a longer period of time due to more chronic or sustained type of forces that occur onto on the underside of the foot. And this can include situations such as somebody who has to jump up and down platforms or hard surfaces all day long, or an athlete who is constantly running or jumping, as well as situations where one must create a lot of general stress or strain to that bone surface for whatever reason. A regular fracture can develop out of that chronic stress and strain, and also a stress fracture can also develop. Now, the difference between a stress fracture and a regular fracture is that during a regular fracture, the entire material of the bone, including the outer hard shell, will actually crack and break. And this line can be straight across, it can be in a diagonal manner, it can be in several different pieces and more jagged. And a stress fracture is more of a subtle injury in which the outer lining of the bone, called the cortex, is generally intact, but the material within the bone itself, what we call the cancellous surface of the bone, which is more like a woven, spongy surface, that actually becomes inflamed and actually is microscopically fractured through that area. Stress fractures of the sesamoid as well as outright fractures of the sesamoid are essentially treated the same. A stress fracture takes a lot longer to heal than a outright fracture, in which the body is able to produce the necessary reaction to allow the bone to heal, versus a stress fracture where it's sort of in this chronic state of non-healing. The key to treating stress fractures and full fractures of the sesamoid bone is basically taking the pressure away from the bone itself to immobilize it so that the pressure doesn't allow the bone fracturing process to continue. It also includes reducing and eliminating the activities which would have caused the fracture in the first place. Now, this immobilization can come in the form of simply using a walking boot to stabilize the pressure underneath the big toe joint to reduce the fracturing process, or it can also include outright immobilization in a cast and crutches to take weight off this area completely. Fractures can take 6 weeks or longer to heal, and stress fractures can take several months to heal. Sometimes they don't heal, and so you're stuck with a fracture that's persisting despite immobilizing it and despite doing all the things that should be done in order to heal the fracture. In these instances, the fractured bone itself probably should be removed because the healing process just simply is not taking place. Pain is going to be continuous and going to be ongoing, and it simply is better off without the bone than with the bone itself. There can be some instability to the big toe joint with removal of a sesamoid, and certainly a significant amount of instability if both of the sesamoids are removed. However, it's very rare that one would have outright injury to both of these at the same time. So the procedure to remove the sesamoid is relatively minor. and the bone is fairly superficial. But the incision typically has to be on the bottom of the foot, so it does take a little bit longer to heal as far as what one does in order to take away pressure to allow the skin to heal appropriately, because if that incision develops a larger scar, it can be somewhat painful in the time after the surgery. Once the sesamoid is gone, the pain should be completely gone at that stage, and essentially it's a cure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please look for more videos on all things foot and ankle on this site as well as others, or you may check out my website at www.inpodiatrygroup.com. Thank you.